Welcome to the Elements of Spirit readings for the week of June 19th, 2017. This is the reading for the element of Earth, which is connected with the sun signs of Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. If you haven't listened to your ether affirmation, go back and check them out now. To the ether reading. The ether affirmation this week: I am aware of my mind and my thoughts. I pause to contemplate my impressions and expressions. Talking a lot about that affirmation as a way of balancing the third eye, pausing, observing, detaching, so that you don't get spun trying to look for your solutions, so that you create a welcome space for solutions, impressions, understanding, intuition, guidance, messages, info about the next steps to come to you, as opposed to you having to go to it, to just make it easier, to make it sweeter. A lot of the other readings have been about how we can work with this idea of self-concept. How do I think about myself? How do I see myself? How do I think about the changes that I've been through? How do I understand them? And in gently working with those, clearing them, honoring them, or fully accepting them and not changing them, you get to do some inner work, some recalibrating that can free your mind and allow you to observe that which you are putting out and that which is coming to you in a way that saves energy and is more effective and kind of just cushions your experience, makes your experience very blessed and safe and supported in terms of the earth. Okay. Okay. I crystallize my internal structures. They're there. They exist in potential. The elements are all there, but they need some heat and some pressure to be applied in order to crystallize them. I crystallize my internal structures. How, you may ask? Well, let me tell you. By accepting my preferences is the way it came out. I heard desires first, but that wasn't it. By accepting my desires, by accepting what I want and don't want, by accepting my preferences. And I was like, is that right? And I have a little window open on the computer which opened date and time preferences. So there were some preferences right on the screen. So the idea here is I crystallize my internal structures by accepting my preferences, by accepting what I would prefer and not prefer, what I would like and what I don't like. Again, why do I need internal structures? Why do I need identity? In order to engage the world, in order to accomplish things in time, in order to not just be sitting in meditation, in order to go out and actually take action, to create meaning, to accomplish my purpose, to generate more love inside of myself and the world, right? That's why structures are helpful, for you to be able to go outside. But the idea here is that I'm aware of my mind and my thoughts. I pause to contemplate my impressions and expressions. And in that space, for you earth element beings, there is space. There are elements that are coalescing, which want to be crystallized and not just left in potential. They want to manifest into form or into action or into kinetic energy. But in order for you to do that, in order to take these elements and crystallize them, you have to accept what you want and what you don't want. You have to own your shit. You have to own your likes and your dislikes, your pleasures and your pain, because you can't really build support on a moving target, on a moving foundation. You can't put a building on a moving foundation. You've got to drop in that rebar, that steel, pour that concrete, set up that foundation. Something needs to get firm in order to be foundational. And it's funny because earth elements tend to be the most sort of firm, the most fixed, but also what I've seen is because you have a tendency to being the most fixed, it can actually be something that you put off, that you don't like. I don't want to crystallize. Because I know myself, once I get into that form, it's going to be so much harder for me to break out of the form. But the idea here is that, yeah, it might be a little bit harder. It might take a little more work. You might have to chip away at the crystals, chip away at whatever's hardened in order to change the form again, in order to change your self-concept or change your inner support. But the idea here is that you don't know whether you're spun or haven't, or whether you're spinning out, or whether you're trying to tell yourself something, because you're dragging your feet a little bit in owning what you like and what you dislike. Why is this an issue? Because when you admit that you want something, you put yourself out there for not getting it. When you say that you don't want something, you eliminate, at least for the immediate future, the potential that you're going to get it, because you're like, I don't want this. So even if it comes at you, you can't receive it. If you do want something, I do want this, you create the space for it. If it doesn't come to you, ooh, that can hurt. That can cause pride to be wounded. That can cause the ego to be bruised. Most importantly, it can cause you to see your situation as, ugh, I never get what I want, or ugh, the bad stuff always happens to me, and it can make your third eye become imbalanced, which makes it that much harder to be able to tell, am I spinning out of control, or am I trying to tell myself something? So again, we want to introduce internal structural supports so that you can back up and pause, be aware of your mind and your thoughts, pause to contemplate your impressions and expressions. Just this energetic dynamic of what I'm putting out versus what I'm allowing in, or what is coming in. I have to crystallize my internal structures by accepting my preferences. So really, forget even the crystallizing of the structures. Accept the preferences. What would you prefer versus what would you not prefer? I used to be such a pushover when it came to ordering. I was always pretty good at, but I a pushover when it came to deciding where to go for dinner, because I would want to take everyone else's opinions into account and come up with a great group general consensus. Problem is, I pick really good restaurants most of the time because I'm from a restaurant family, so I'm psychotic about it. It probably shouldn't be such a great skill of mine, but it is, and I love myself for it. Why? Because my Scorpio affirmation is I am who I am. There's no need to change. I love who I love. I forgive myself and move forward. So but my point is that preference got to a point where I was like, why don't I just tell everybody where I would prefer to go? Because if I own what I want, then I'm going to be happy, and and most likely everyone else is going to be happy too, because I know that I pick restaurants, good restaurants. So why open it up to the group when the actual fulcrum of the decision was actually just hanging on my preference? And I'm telling you, I would get into all sorts of arguments with friends or with loved ones or even with my family, because rather than just saying, this is what I would prefer, I would say, well, what do you want? And what do you want? And they would tell me what they want, and then I would be like, well, how about this place? We could try this place. Or ooh, if you really want to go places, you should have it. So now I've just introduced 17 different places when they were actually good with the first one, but we couldn't decide on the first one because I couldn't own my preference. I hope that's helpful. Not TMI. I crystallize my internal structures by accepting my preferences. So start with what you would prefer, always. Don't worry about the structures as much this week. Go for the ether affirmation. I am aware of my mind and my thoughts. I pause to contemplate my impressions and expressions. And then from that centered place, I crystallize my internal structures by accepting my preferences. If I feel a lot going out or a lot coming in, which do I like better? I like the expression better, or I like the impression better. I like what's coming to me better. I like working with this person. I don't like working with that person. I like feeling this way. I don't like feeling that way. Those preferences matter because they will help to stabilize your inner structures, which will allow you to be more present and therefore more detached, save more energy, and hopefully see a little more clearly in terms of where you're going to go next week. I hope this was useful. I love you very much. I'll see you next week. Bye.